Good morning, and thank you for attending today. My name is Juanita Riley. I am the Contracts and Procurement Manager for the Texas Lottery Commission. This is the pre-proposal conference for the Lottery Operations and Services RFP number 362-2024-0003. On the panel today, we have Eric Williams. He's our Hub Coordinator. Bob Beard, he's our General Counsel. Angela Skyby-Sagarba, she's our Administration Division Director. Robert Trelawney, he's our Lottery Operation Division Director. Ryan Mendel, our Executive Director, would have liked to be here today, but he's traveling on business. If you've not already done so, please scan the QR code with a mobile device or use the link that was provided to sign in. A copy of the sign-in sheet will be posted on the ESBD, which is Electronic States Business Daily, and the Texas Lottery's website prior to the end of the next business day. This is for sharing of contact information between prime vendors and potential subcontractors. Due to confidential information related to this RFP, communication will be primarily through emails. If you're not receiving my emails, we strongly advise you to check with your IT department to ensure that our emails will not be filtered. This conference is being recorded. If you have any questions, please submit your questions in the Q&A feature throughout the conference, and we will answer in order received during the question and answer session at the end of each part. Our Administration Division Director, Angela, will be monitoring the Q&As. We will review the recording after the conference and restate the question and answers in a Q&A document, which will be emailed to proposers who submitted an executed non-disclosure statement in accordance with these scheduled events. We'll give you our best response to your questions today. However, any questions we cannot answer today will be answered in writing and will be included in the Q&A document. Please note that the written Q&A document is our final answer. Following this conference, if you think of additional questions, you have 2 opportunities to submit these in writing. These are your opportunities to ask questions, and we encourage you to do so regarding the requirements of the RFP. If you're unsure of language written in the RFP or need further clarification, this is your chance to receive the information you need. After proposals are received, it is then the Texas Lottery's time to ask questions and/or seek clarification if needed. Please note that any oral communication that would alter or amend the RFP as written is not binding. Any non-confidential changes or modification to the RFP will be made in writing and posted on the ESBD and the Texas Lottery's website. For example, any changes to the schedule of events. You're encouraged to check these websites throughout this process and once more before submitting a proposal. Please note that there may be several RFPs posted on the TLC's website at one time, so be sure that you're viewing the correct RFP for updates. This RFP is open to any and all vendors who meet the requirements stated in the RFP, and you have timely submitted a letter of intent to propose and a signed non-disclosure statement in accordance with the schedule of events. To submit a proposal, you do not have to be registered on the CMBL, which is a centralized master bidder list, be Hub certified, nor is there any approved vendor list. We will now briefly review the RFP by parts. While we may discuss only certain sections or provision of the RFP during this conference, all sections and provision of the RFP are important, and you should read and understand the entire RFP before submitting your proposal. You'll have an opportunity after each part to ask general questions. We'll begin with Part 1, General Information. Section 1.1, 2 or more entities may collaborate to file a proposal, but they must designate a single entity they will contract with the Texas Lottery and be responsible for delivery of goods and services. Section 1.5, Schedule Events. This section includes critical dates for this procurement. If there are any changes to these dates up to the deadline for proposals, an amendment will be posted on the ESBD and the Texas Lottery's website. Please be sure to check these websites for any updates. Section 1.8. Because we're a state agency, proposals are subject to the Public Information Act, also known as the Open Records Act. So during the procurement process, we will not release any information containing your proposal. However, after a contract is awarded, your entire proposal is subject to this act and is considered public information. If there's any information in your proposal that you consider confidential and exempt from disclosure under the Texas Public Information Act, you must mark it as confidential. Examples of confidential information may be financial information or information that you consider trade secret or proprietary. It's important that you mark every applicable page and/or section that you consider confidential, and if possible, mark which exception of the Texas Public Information Act it falls under. The Public Information Act is located under Texas Government Code Chapter 552. Also, you cannot mark your entire proposal confidential. On the Texas Office of the Attorney General's website is the Public Information Handbook, which lists all the exceptions to the Texas Public Information Act. If you have information that you consider confidential, please respond to Section 1.8 and list the information. Include a brief commentary or justification, in addition to marking individual sections and/or pages. Angela, are there any questions for Part 1?
Good morning, Juanita. We have not received any questions regarding Part 1 yet, or any other items.
Thank you. Part 2, Proposal Process, Section 2.1. I'm the sole point of contact for the RFP. All questions should be directed to me, including any hub questions. Section 2.4, a letter of intent to propose by the proposer must be received in accordance with the schedule of events. Failure to sign and submit a letter of intent will result in a rejection of a proposal and disqualification of the proposer. Section 2.5, proposers may receive information relevant to the lottery security or information that is confidential or claimed to be proprietary by third parties. Therefore, in order to receive any such information, proposers are required to submit an executed non-disclosure statement in accordance with the schedule of events. Failure to submit an executed NDS and comply with the NDS will result in rejection of its proposal and disqualification of the proposer. The confidential information will be sent through a secure portal a few days after we receive the letter of intent and the NDS. Section 2.6, mandatory hub subcontracting plan workshops are required. 2 weeks prior to the workshops, I will send an email out to prospective proposers that submitted the required letter of intent and NDS for scheduling. Eric Williams will provide an overview of the hub subcontracting plan today when we get to Part 5. Section 2.7, written questions shall be submitted via email by the deadline in the scheduled events. Questions submitted after the deadline in the scheduled events will not be answered. Responses will be emailed to the prospective proposers that submitted the required letter of intent and the NDS. Questions concerning hub subcontracting plan will be posted on the ESPD and the Texas Lottery's website. Section 2.8, the format of the statement of work differs in this RFP than other TLC RFPs. Examples are provided under this section. So the format consists of an introductory paragraph, which provides a brief overview of the service area, roles and responsibility, which provides a definition of the labor to be performed, detailed requirements, which provide detailed action requirements that include, but not limited to, service level matrix, deliverables, and service requirements. And most importantly for proposers, response requirements, which outlines the minimum response requirements for proposers. And then you have service level requirements, which identifies the service level requirements for the section. So therefore, when submitting questions, please refer to the specific area of the RFP, including the section, the table, and item numbers if possible. Section 2.9, submission of technical proposal. Technical proposals along with the bid bond and protest litigation bond must be delivered to me at the address in Section 2.1. If you are hand overnight delivering, the Texas Lottery headquarters is located at 1801 North Congress Avenue, the George H.W. Bush State Office Building. This is a secure building, and all visitors must check in at the front desk in the lobby of the main building off of East 18th Street. If you're hand delivering a proposal, please provide 24 hours advance notice to the email address listed in Section 2.1 of an 8-hour delivery window and allow adequate time to check in and for TLC staff to receive your proposal timely to the submission time listed in the schedule events. Please note the cost proposals are submitted to the General Counsel separately on a different date. Technical proposals, bid bond, protest litigation bond must be in a sealed addressed container, and it needs to be clearly marked technical proposal for RFP 362-2024-003. When submitting to the U.S. Postal Service or a commercial delivery service, please allow sufficient time to meet the due date. You'll need to provide one signed original technical proposal and 12 copies, excluding the cost proposal. In addition, you'll need to provide a copy of the technical proposal, excluding costs, on a USB drive in a searchable and unprotected PDF file. Copyright proposals may be rejected. For Part 1 and Part 2 only, proposers may provide a blanket acknowledgement and acceptance in lieu of a section-by-section response. If there are no exceptions or qualifications to Part 3, proposers may provide a blanket acknowledgement and acceptance in lieu of a section-by-section response. Otherwise, proposers shall provide either a section-by-section response or a partial blanket acknowledgement and acceptance for those clearly identified sections for which the proposer has no exceptions, and a section-by-section response to the other section. For Part 4, proposers shall provide a section-by-section response. Part 5, you'll need to provide a response to the hub subcontracting plan. Parts 6 through 11, you'll need to provide a section-by-section response for each response requirement at a minimum. Background information certification, attachment D1, must be signed by an officer or agent of proposer with the authority to contractually bind the proposer, and the signed attachment must be included in a technical proposal. Proposals are due no later than the deadline established in the schedule of events. Late proposals will not be considered. No exceptions will be made. Please review Section 2.10 and 2.11 for information on the bid bond and the protest litigation bond, which are required with a technical proposal. Failure to provide these bonds will result in disqualification of the proposal. Section 212, this section covers the format and contents of which your technical proposal, cost proposal, proposer's commitment, and startup costs must be organized. So for your technical proposal, it needs to include the following, which would be the letter of transmittal, the executive summary, section-by-section response to the RFP, evidence of financial soundness, one original, one copy, hub subcontracting plan, one original, one copy, background information certification, which is attachment D1, bid bond proposal surety provided with the original technical proposal only, and protest litigation bond provided with the original technical proposal only. Then you have your cost proposal, proposer's commitment, which is attachment A, and the startup cost, attachment L. These need to be in 3 separate sealed envelopes. In Section 213, letter transmittal, the letter must state that the proposal is valid for 365 days. Also include an overview why your company is most qualified, and include a statement accepting the terms and conditions in Part 3 and or any exceptions to such. Section 214, executive summary, should be a full and concise summary and not exceed 5 pages. Section 2.16, cost proposal. You have cost proposals, attachment H, the proposer's commitment, attachment A, and the startup cost, attachment L, must be submitted in 3 separate envelopes to Bob Beard. Cost proposal shall be in a sealed addressed envelope and clearly marked cost proposal for RFP 362-2024-003. Also, please clearly mark the envelopes for the proposer's commitment, attachment A, and the startup cost, attachment L. When submitting to the U.S. Postal Service or a commercial delivery service, please allow sufficient time to meet the due date. If you're hand delivering, please provide 24 hours advance notice to the email address listed in Section 2.1 of the 8-hour delivery window, and allow adequate time to check in and for TLC staff to receive your proposal timely prior to submission time listed in the schedule of events. You'll need to provide 1 signed original cost proposals and 3 copies, and 1 copy on a USB drive in an unprotected PDF file. Pricing must follow the format and attachment H and typewritten. The proposer shall state its pricing for all services rendered during the course of the proposed contract, including any and all costs involved that are to be paid or reimbursed by the Texas Lottery. No reimbursement is available to the successful proposer beyond the amount agreed to be paid for the goods and services provided. The proposer shall not disclose its cost proposal or other cost information in the body of the written technical proposal, including cost information in the written technical proposal may cause for disqualification. Absolutely no inquiries may be made to Bob Beard regarding the receipt of cost proposal deliveries. No such inquiries will be answered. Confirmation of receipt will be provided via email. Section 2.17, multiple proposals. Proposers may submit only one proposal and one cost proposal. If a proposer submits more than one proposal, all proposals from that proposer may be rejected. Section 2.18, any change, modification, or cancellations will be posted on the Texas Lottery and ESBD's website. Section 2.21, proposal evaluation. The scoring matrix is attachment G of the RFP and will be used for evaluation of proposals in response to this RFP. Please note that there are two pass-fail categories, which is the HSP analysis and the financial analysis. So your proposal essentially goes through 4 phases once it's submitted. The first phase is the initial assessment for compliance and completeness. Then it's reviewed for financial analysis and HSP. Then it's reviewed for evaluated for its technical merit. And then the cost proposal is opened and reviewed. If at any given time your proposal is disqualified, you will receive a notice stating such. In section 2.22, there are dates in the scheduled events for site visits and oral presentations, which are time reservations for these events. The TLC will provide notice to proposers of specific dates and time for site visits and oral presentations in advance. Angela, are there any questions for part 2?
Juanita, we have not received any questions yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Part 3, contractual terms and condition. This part describes the terms and conditions which apply to the procurement process and which will become part of the contract executed pursuant to this RFP. Please read over this entire RFP document to ensure that you fully understand and will comply with all provisions. Any exceptions to the RFP should be clearly stated in the letter of transmittal, providing specific and detailed reasons for each exception, along with suggested alternative language. The contract resulting from the RFP will incorporate the RFP, any amendments, the questions and responses, the contractor's proposal, and cost proposal. Please note a performance bond is required under RFP Section 3.43 and is required under the State Lottery Act. Therefore, we cannot accept alternatives. Under Section 3.71.2, the contractor will be required to take the Texas Lottery Cybersecurity Training Program and sign the Information Security Agreement. In addition, Section 3.71.3, Prohibit Technology, Section 3.71.4, Cloud Computing, and Section 3.71.5, Data Protection, are recently new laws that have passed. Specifically in Section 3.71.4 requires any cloud computing services utilized by the successful proposer under the contract resulting from this RFP shall comply with the requirements of the State Risk Authorization Management Program. The successful proposer shall maintain program compliance and certification throughout the contract term and shall be required to demonstrate compliance with the program requirements upon the Texas Lottery's request. This program is known as TexRAMP, and you can find the requirements on the Texas Department of Information Resources website. Angela, are there any questions on part 3?
Juanita, we still have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Part 4, required information. Section 4.1 through 4.4. Although these sections seem brief in the RFP, these sections require proposers to gather, compile, and submit a great deal of detailed documentation. Please read these sections in depth and provide all the information in your section-by-section response. So for a 4.1 in your RFP, we want to see a 4.1 in your proposal. Section 4.6, conflict of interest. This section, you are asked to disclose any actual, potential, and or perceived conflict of interest. Please review this section and make any disclosures. Section 4.7, financial soundness. Texas Lottery Commission does a thorough financial analysis for all proposals. Please provide the information requested under this section. If you feel this information is confidential, please mark it as such. This is a pass-fail category on the scoring matrix, and it's critical that you provided the requested information. Section 4.8, background investigation. TLC reserves the right to conduct an in-depth background investigation on the apparent successful proposer. Section 4.8.2, a background information may be conducted on a contractual defined vendor principles, meaning those who will be directly involved in selling or leasing the goods for performing the service subject to this RFP or resulting in a contract. This includes partners, shareholders, officers, and directors who are directly involved. Section 4.8.3, background investigation may be conducted on vendor employees who meet one or more of the criteria under this section. This contract requires background investigation of employees on site at the Texas Lottery Commission. Background investigation will include fingerprinting. The apparent successful proposer may be required to complete background forms by the prescribed time after the written announcement of the apparent successful proposer by the Texas Lottery. As mentioned before, we ask that all proposers complete and submit attachment D1 with its technical proposal. This is a certification that your company would not be denied a sales license under Texas Government Code 466.155, which is attachment D in the RFP. Section 4.9, disclosure of interest parties. If requested, the successful proposer will be required to fill out a 1295 form with the Texas Ethics Commission. This is for contracts that are over $1 million, and if you're not a publicly traded company. Angela, are there any questions on Part 4?
Juanita, there are no questions on Part 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Part 5, HSP. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Eric Williams, who's going to go over Part 5.
Thank you, Juanita. Good morning. My name is Eric Williams, and I am the Hub Coordinator for the Texas Lottery Commission. I will be covering a very crucial element of your proposal, the Hub Subcontracting Plan, or HSP. If you're not the individual responsible for preparing the HSP, please pass this information to them and recommend they watch the video of this pre-proposal conference, which will be posted on the agency website. The Hub Subcontracting Plan is used to identify both Hub and non-Hub subcontractors that will be utilized under the awarded contract. All proposers, Hub and non-Hub, submitting a response to this RFP are required to submit an HSP. No one is exempt. As Juanita previously mentioned, the HSP is a pass-fail element of this RFP. No evaluation points are given for the HSP, and proposers must submit an HSP with their proposal, regardless of their subcontracting intentions. Any proposal received, not including an HSP, will be rejected, and the technical portion will not be evaluated. So it's important to submit a completed HSP with your proposal. Also, during the reviewing process, if it is determined that your submitted HSP has failed, your proposal will be disqualified and will not be evaluated. The HSP process is governed by a rule established by the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. Per Section 5.1 of the RFP, you are responsible for reviewing this rule. Section 5.3, assistance for preparation of the HSP. To assist you with the HSP process, the Texas Lottery provides the following resources and assistance. All vendors are strongly encouraged to take advantage of all the resources. This pre-proposal conference video will be posted on the agency website. A copy of the TLC's pre-bid proposal conference booklet regarding HSP requirements is available on the agency's website. A HSP quick checklist and Hub subcontracting opportunity notification form is included in the RFP. Proposers have the opportunity to submit written HSP questions at any time up until the proposal deadline. However, we suggest you submit questions early to allow yourself the necessary time to cure any deficiencies with your plan. You are encouraged to start working on your HSP as soon as possible to give yourself plenty of time. The HSP Q&A is posted on the TLC website and the ESBD, which will be a rolling document, so be sure to check the date posted. As stated in section 5.4 of the RFP, the Lottery Commission will schedule one-on-one mandatory workshops with each proposer to discuss hub subcontracting requirements, answer any questions specific to conducting the good faith effort for the hub subcontracting opportunities, and completing the required HSP forms and review submitted draft HSP forms. The workshops may be conducted via Zoom, Teams, or telephone conference. In these workshops, the Lottery Commission will not answer any questions that are not directly related to the HSP development process. Information provided in the workshops and in any follow-up discussions regarding HSP requirements is intended solely to assist the proposer in complying with the HSP requirements set forth in the Texas statute and the controller's hub rules. The proposer is solely responsible for ensuring that the good faith effort requirements are completed for all subcontracting opportunities under this RFP. Attendance at the HSP workshops does not guarantee that the HSP submitted with the proposal will pass. We will review drafts of your HSP during the mandatory HSP workshops to identify deficiencies and provide feedback. However, we will not state whether your draft has passed or failed. This process will allow you the opportunity to submit draft HSPs for review by the Lottery Commission. As previously stated, this process does not guarantee the HSP submitted with your final proposal will pass. It is the proposer's responsibility to understand the requirements and to perform all the required steps prior to submitting their HSP. As per section 2.1 of the RFP, please forward all questions or requests to Juanita Riley. Section 5.5, requirements for completing the HSP forms. The definition of a subcontractor is very broad and applies to any third-party vendor used to fulfill a portion of the contract. And according with 34 TAC 20.282, a subcontractor means a person who contracts with a prime contractor to work, to supply commodities, or contribute toward completing work for a governmental entity. Our definition of a subcontractor is a person who contracts with the successful proposer to work, to supply commodities, or contribute toward completing work for the Texas Lottery Commission. In other words, if the successful proposer who is awarded this contract is paying anyone who is not an employee to provide goods and or services, they are very likely subcontracting under this definition. These individuals will receive a 1099, unlike your employees who receive W-2s. We have identified potential subcontracting opportunities in attachment N of the RFP. These areas may or may not be subcontracted depending on the proposer's existing resources, employees, and business model. You are not limited to the list in the RFP. However, if you intend to subcontract any portion of the contract and it's not listed, you are responsible for identifying it in your HSP submission. We also provide on the agency website the Lottery Operations and Services RFP Potential Opportunity Subcontracting List. This is a list of hub vendors listed by CMBL class and commodity description, which again are listed in attachment N to assist you in finding potential hub vendors. The Lottery Commission does not endorse, recommend, or attest to the capabilities of any company or individual listed within the Lottery Operations and Services RFP potential opportunity subcontracting list or on the CNBL Hub search directory. Proposers who intend to subcontract any portion of this contract must indicate in Section 2B the respondent's subcontracting intentions on the HSP forms that they intend to subcontract and must perform one of the 3 good faith effort methods. The goal of this good faith effort is to actively involve hubs in the Texas procurement process and ensure they receive a fair share of state business. The optional quick checklist will assist you in determining which of the 3 methods you should use. Good faith effort method A has 2 options. Method A, option 1, this option is used for the proposer who will use only Texas certified hubs for all identified subcontracting opportunities. If you use this method, please verify online that the hub vendor is currently an active hub listed on the CNBL. Method A, option 2, meeting the specified hub contract goal. This option is for the proposer who will use a combination of Texas certified hubs and non-hub vendors for the identified subcontracting opportunities. However, the specified hub contract goal of 22.1% can only be met by the subcontracting opportunities awarded to the Texas certified hub vendors with whom the proposer has contracted for 5 years or less. If you use this method, as previously stated, please verify online that the hub vendor is currently an active hub listed on the CNBL. Method B, good faith effort outreach. This option is for the proposer who will perform good faith effort outreach for each identified subcontracting opportunity. And this is done by providing written notification to 3 or more Texas certified hubs per subcontracting opportunity, allowing those hubs at least 7 working days to respond, excluding the day the solicitation was mailed, emailed, or faxed to the hub vendors, meaning the day your email is sent or the letter is postmarked does not count as day 1. Also, weekends, holidays, and any other day the executive director has closed the agency are excluded to the notice prior to you submitting your bid. Your notice should include the scope of work for hubs to determine whether they are interested, a location where the plans and specifications are located for review, i.e. a link to the posting on the ESBD or physical location, information regarding insurance and bonding requirements if applicable, and identify a contact person, and also provide written notification to 2 or more trade organizations or development centers in Texas per subcontracting opportunity to assist identify potential hubs in disseminating the subcontracting opportunity to their members and participants, allowing them at least 7 working days to respond. Again, excluding the day the solicitation was emailed, mailed, or faxed to the hub vendors, meaning the day your email is sent or the letter is postmarked does not count as day 1. Also, weekends, holidays, and any other day the executive director has closed the agency are excluded to the notice prior to you submitting your bid. Your notice should include the scope of work for hubs to determine whether they're interested, a location where the plans and specifications are located, and this can be done via a link to the posting on the ESBD or physical location, information regarding insurance and bonding requirements if applicable, and identify a contact person. If any proposer is a mentor and the mentor-protege agreement that is registered with the comptroller, the proposer may demonstrate a good faith effort for any subcontracting opportunity by subcontracting the work to its protege. Proposers using this method must perform outreach even for areas where a proposer has a pre-existing or exclusive subcontracting relationship that will be used in performance of this contract. If you use this method, as previously stated, please verify online that the hub vendor is currently an active hub listed on the CMBL. For the proposer who does not intend to subcontract any portion of the contract and will be fulfilling the entire contract with their own existing resources, including its own equipment, supplies, materials, and/or employees, will be self-performing. Keep in mind that a pre-existing subcontracting relationship is considered subcontracting, in which case you cannot claim self-performance. A pre-existing subcontracting relationship is a business affiliation your company has with a third-party vendor who is currently supplying your company with goods and/or services and will continue to supply those goods and the services to assist you in the performance of this contract. Our evaluation process of HSP submitted with your proposals on the deadline for proposal date, as written in section 1.5, the schedule of events or subsequent amended schedule of events, is to be reviewed and evaluate the HSP and all supporting documentation to determine if the HSP has passed or failed. During our review, we may request clarification of information in your submitted response. Again, there are no evaluation points assigned to the HSP. It is strictly pass or fail. If it is determined that your HSP has failed, the technical portion of your proposal will not be evaluated. Section 5.7, following the award of the contract, the successful proposer must provide a written notice to each subcontractor informing them of their selection. A copy of this notice must be provided to the Texas Lottery Commission no later than 10 working days after contract award as stated in section 5.7.1. The notice must specify at a minimum the contracting agency's name and its point of contact for the contract award number, the subcontracting opportunity to be performed, the approximate dollar value of the subcontracting opportunity, and the expected percentage of the total contract that the subcontracting opportunity represents. Also, any proposed changes to the HSP must be submitted for review and approved by the agency. A written change approval form will be provided by the Texas Lottery Commission. Subcontracting without prior authorization is a breach of contract. Monthly subcontracting expenditure reports are required as a condition of payment. Again, we strongly encourage you to take full advantage of all the available resources to assist you with your HSP submission. Once you submit your HSP with a proposal, there is no opportunity to cure. Please consult the schedule of events and make sure that you know which dates are critical in terms of preparing and submitting the HSP. In closing, I'll remind you again, if you are not the person who is responsible for completing the HSP, please pass this information to them, as well as let them know that today's pre-proposal conference will be available for view on the agency website. Please submit questions regarding the HSP after this conference in writing, and they will be answered and posted on the agency website and the ESBD. HSP questions can be submitted up until the deadline for proposals, which is listed in section 1.5 of the RFP. Angela, are there any questions regarding section 5 of the RFP?
Good morning, Eric. We have one question on method B, and the question is, on the method B continuation sheet, the PDF form is numbered under items 16 through 43. Are we able to edit the PDF form to adjust those item numbers, or is there another form to use to edit the numbers?
There is not another continuation form. What we would suggest you do is just once you get to the end of that second continuation page, you can submit that on regular bond paper and just keep your numbering consistent with the prior sequence of numbers.
And that was the only question, Eric.
Thank you, Angela. I'll turn it back over to Anita.
Thank you, Eric. As Eric mentioned, the HSP Q&A is a running document. For any additional questions that we receive, we will add to the same document and revise the date on the document. There will only be one link on our website for attachment on the ESVD for the HSP questions. So please check the website often to see any changes since you've last reviewed it. Parts 6 through 11 consists of scope of services or technical portion of the RFP. The information requirements in these sections are vast and topics vary widely. Therefore, we'll not be going over these sections in detail today. Please read these parts and related attachments in depth, including the confidential packet. As stated before, proposals will need to respond to each response requirements in detail. Angela, are there any questions for parts 6 through 11?
Juanita, there are no new questions. Thank you.
Right. We are towards the end of our conference. Please submit any questions in the Q&A feature, or you can submit questions in accordance with the schedule of events. Here are some final reminders. All scope of service questions must be submitted in writing via email to me by the deadline in the schedule of events. Scope of service or technical questions that are submitted in writing by the time and date specified will not be answered. If you have a question on the RFP process, you can contact me and I may be able to respond. Generally, this is the case for all sections except for parts 6 through 11, excuse me, but don't hesitate to ask. Please note all dates in the scheduled events. Proposers are responsible for checking the ESVD and the TLC's website for any and all notices, non-confidential amendments, and HSP Q&A regarding this RFP. We will not directly email these to you. Prior to submission of your proposal, please review the entire RFP carefully to ensure that you submitted all required information and/or documentation. The pre-proposal conference video and sign-in sheet will be posted on the ESVD and the TLC's website prior to the end of the next business day. Angela, are there any questions before we go?
Juanita, we do not have any additional questions.
Right. This concludes our conference. Thanks again for your attendance and have a good day.